My best friend got pregnant with my husband, and now my own mother is asking me to give them custody of my kids. I never thought I'd be that woman, the one whose life completely crumbles overnight. But here I am, sitting in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by my kids' toys, wondering how everything went so wrong. My husband Dev and I started dating when I was 21 and he was 23. We'd been together for almost 2 years before he proposed. We've been married for 12 years now and have 2 beautiful kids. For the longest time, I thought we were solid. I thought he was my forever. When we were dating, Dev introduced me to his mother, Mallory. I liked her right away and tried so hard to make a good impression, but unfortunately, the feeling wasn't mutual. Mallory had been a widow for years. Dev's father passed away from a heart attack when he was young. She raised him alone, so they're very close. You could say Dev was a bit of a mama's boy, and he admitted he was nervous about letting me meet her because her opinion meant everything to him. Mallory never liked me, and I always knew why. I come from an upper middle class family. My parents owned several businesses, and I had a comfortable upbringing. They paid for my college and bought me my first car, but they also taught me the value of independence. I worked hard, built my own career, and never relied on my family's money once I graduated. Dev's story was the complete opposite. His father was rarely around because of his military job, and when he passed away, Dev had to grow up fast. Mallory struggled with alcoholism, so Dev started working at McDonald's as a teenager just to help them get by. Later, he went to college for a communications degree, but dropped out because he hated it. He bounced between jobs until he eventually found some success as a freelance writer and digital nomad. Even when he didn't have much, he'd send Mallory money every month. He spoiled her with expensive gifts, even when it meant we had to cut corners. I admired his loyalty at first, but it became a problem later on. When our relationship started to get serious, I decided to tell Dev about my family's generational wealth. He didn't believe me until he Googled my family, and when he did, he was furious that I hadn't told him sooner. He accused me of not trusting him. I explained that people had used me for money before, which was why I kept that private until I was sure about someone. He eventually accepted it, but every now and then he'd make passive-aggressive jokes, like, you'll never know what it's like to work hard, or must be nice to have rich parents. That should have been my first red flag. When we moved in together, Dev insisted we live at my place since it was bigger. I agreed and brought up splitting the rent, but he got defensive. He said he didn't make much as a freelancer and that because I came from old money, I should prove my love by covering everything. Rent, bills, groceries, all of it. We argued. I told him I didn't think that was fair, but I eventually caved. I paid for everything while he continued sending his mother money and gifts. Whenever I pointed it out, he'd guilt-trip me saying, "She's a single old woman who needs me." You'll never understand. I stopped arguing after a while. When he proposed, I should have noticed the lack of effort. He proposed to me in our backyard. My mom actually helped him plan it, with the help of my best friend, Kylie. Kylie and I had been best friends since high school. Our moms grew up together, and she's always been like a sister to me. She's my person, the one I told everything to. She even helped Dev pick my ring and organize the proposal. I remember being a little disappointed that he didn't plan something more romantic, but when I saw my family and friends cheering, I pushed those feelings aside. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Dev's mom pulled me aside that night and said, "I have high expectations for you as a daughter-in-law. Make sure you keep my son happy." Looking back, that was another red flag I ignored. After the wedding, I continued paying for everything, dates, vacations, household bills, because Dev claimed he was saving for our future. When I got pregnant with our first child, James, things got worse. I had a difficult pregnancy and had to stop working. Dev was furious. He said we wouldn't survive on one income and that I was being lazy. That broke me. I called my parents in tears. My mom, shockingly, sided with Dev. She said women work while pregnant all the time and that I should toughen up. My dad, on the other hand, was livid. He called Dev directly and told him to step up or get out. He even mentioned divorce, which scared Dev enough to finally start paying the bills. For a while, things calmed down, but when our son was born, Dev checked out completely. I didn't realize it then, but I had postpartum depression. I was exhausted, alone, and terrified. Dev refused to help with anything, feeding, diapers, midnight wake-ups, nothing. His excuse? I don't know how to handle a baby. Mallory would visit and criticize everything I did. "You're getting fat. You should pick him up faster when he cries. You're not motherly enough." Never once did she scold her son. The only person who was truly there for me was Kylie. She'd stay over to help me, bring food, and listen to me vent about Dev. She called him a deadbeat and told me I deserved better. She was my safe space. So when I got pregnant again a year later, I thought maybe this time things would be different. But Dev was furious again. He demanded I get an abortion. I refused. I went back to work as a freelancer to make sure I had my own income and started secretly saving half my paycheck just in case. Meanwhile, Dev became even lazier. He quit his job saying he deserved a break since I had taken one during my pregnancy. Except I hadn't taken a break. I had literally grown a human while taking care of another. He spent all his time at his friend Clinton's house. Clinton was a bitter, divorced man who hated women. I hated that Dev spent time with him, but Dev claimed he understood him better than I did. Then, when I went into labor with our second baby, Dev didn't answer my calls. He missed the birth. Kylie didn't answer either. My parents had to take me to the hospital. Both of them showed up the next day with flimsy excuses. Work, bad timing, sorry, it won't happen again. I forgave them. Like an idiot, I forgave them. But I'd reached my breaking point. I told Dev that if he didn't find a job and start contributing, I was leaving him. To my surprise, he said he'd start job hunting the next day. I almost believed him. Then, the next morning, I was doing laundry when I heard his phone ping. A message lit up the screen from a number I recognized. I froze. The message read, "When are you going to tell her about us? I'm pregnant. I can't hide it anymore." It was from Kylie, my best friend. I went cold. When Dev came out of the shower, I was standing there with his phone in my hand. He tried to snatch it away, but I slapped him across the face before he could say a word. He stammered something about it being a misunderstanding, but I didn't listen. I told him he was dead to me. I packed my bags, took the kids, and drove straight to my parents' house. I've barely stopped crying since. My best friend of 20 years is pregnant with my husband's child, and now both of them are begging me to hear them out. I don't even have the strength to respond. I just can't believe this is my life. Update 1. Hey everyone, thank you so much for all the love, messages, and support on my last post. It's been about a month since everything blew up, and honestly, I've just been trying to keep myself together. I'm finally back at work. Having that routine again helps. It's the only thing that makes me feel somewhat normal these days. And, well, you were all right. So many of you commented that Dev and Kylie must have been cheating for a long time, and now I know for sure that's true. A few days after I left Dev, Kylie sent me a long message. I didn't even want to read it, but curiosity got the better of me. She said she didn't mean for it to happen, that she fell in love with Dev, and that since she's pregnant, she has to think about herself now. She claimed she'd been pressuring Dev to tell me the truth, but he didn't want to because he knew he'd lose everything. Which, yeah, he would. He's only ever cared about money and comfort, not love. Dev, on the other hand, has been calling and texting nonstop. He begged me to forgive him, said it was a one-time mistake. Then, and this made my blood boil, he said we could convince Kylie to give up the baby and raise it together. Yes, you read that right. He actually thought I'd agree to raise the child he made with my best friend. That was the moment I realized just how delusional he really is. Apparently, Dev had been confiding in Kylie for months behind my back, complaining about me, saying I forced him to get a job, that I nagged him too much. And of course, instead of telling him to grow up, his friend Clinton encouraged it. Clinton told Dev that Kylie understood him better than his wife ever could. So one day they met up just to talk, and Kylie, the same woman who had held my newborn in her arms, who promised to be my kid's godmother, slept with my husband. It makes me sick just thinking about it. Kylie also had the audacity to say that I should thank her for taking my trash out, that I'd wanted to leave Dev anyway but didn't have the courage to do it. Maybe that's true. Maybe she did do me a favor. But it still doesn't change the fact that she destroyed a 20-year friendship and betrayed me in the worst way possible. And you know what really drives the knife deeper? I'm pretty sure that the night I went into labor, when neither of them answered my calls, they were together. That thought keeps me up at night. When I first told my parents about the affair, my dad was furious. He called Dev and absolutely went off on him. My mom, however, didn't believe me. She said there was no way Kylie would do something like that. I even called Kylie's mother to tell her what happened, and unlike my own mom, she believed me right away. She was heartbroken. She cried on the phone with me and said she was disgusted by her daughter's actions. She promised to stand by me, and she has. After a long talk with my dad, I've decided to file for divorce. We already have a lawyer lined up, and thankfully, the prenup my dad insisted on before my marriage means Dev gets nothing. The only thing left to figure out is custody of the kids. But since Dev has never been involved in raising them, I'm confident I'll get full custody. The only unexpected blow came from my own mother. When she realized she couldn't convince me not to divorce Dev, she started pushing a different idea, that I should give Dev full custody of the children. At first, I laughed. I thought it was some kind of sick joke, but she kept bringing it up again and again. Yesterday, I finally snapped. I yelled at her and demanded to know how she could even think of suggesting that. She didn't respond. She just walked away. Something feels off. Why would my own mother want me to give my children to a man who can barely take care of himself? I don't know what she's hiding, but I plan to find out. I'm going to sit her down with my dad and get to the bottom of this. Because right now, it feels like every person I've ever trusted is turning against me. Update 2. It's only been a few days since my last update, but so much has happened that I can barely process it all. My DMs have been flooded with messages, some of you offering support, others speculating about what my mom might be up to. For some of you, this might feel like an entertaining story to follow online, but for me, this is my life. My real, painful, falling apart life. First things first, the divorce papers have officially been served. Dev called me sobbing like a man-child, begging me to take him back. I didn't say a word. I just laughed and told him to start preparing to lose everything. He has no idea what's coming for him. The kids, James and Na, are doing okay. Honestly, Dev was so uninvolved in their lives that they barely noticed his absence. I'm exhausted. Taking care of a baby and a toddler while dealing with this mess is overwhelming. But my dad has been my rock through all of it. Kylie's mom also came to visit me. She lives in another city, but when she found out everything that had happened, she immediately made the trip. She cried when she saw me and said how ashamed she was of her daughter. She even told me she's planning to cut Kylie off completely. No financial help, no inheritance, nothing. She said, if she thinks she can build a life with a man like Dev, then she can do it without me. I didn't even know what to say. The whole situation still feels surreal. Word about the affair has spread to our entire friend group and even some relatives. Everyone's been sending me messages of support, And apparently, they've been sending Kylie and Dev some very unpleasant ones too. I don't condone harassment, but I can't say I feel bad for them either. They made their bed. And then, Mallory called. Dev's mother, who hasn't had the decency to reach out since everything happened, suddenly decided to call me. At first, I thought maybe she wanted to apologize, but no. Instead, she told me that Dev is suffering, that everyone in the family is mad at him, and that as a good daughter-in-law, I should retract the divorce and take him back. She actually tried to justify his actions by saying, "Men sometimes stray from the path. It's a woman's job to bring them back." I saw red. I told her exactly what I thought of her and her worthless son, that I had supported him financially and emotionally for years, that I had carried him through life while he contributed nothing, and that she should be ashamed for raising such a pathetic man. Before hanging up, I told her that if she ever called me again, I'd make sure Dev was left with nothing, that I'd bleed him dry in court. For the first time in years, I felt powerful. But the peace didn't last long. I finally sat down with my parents to confront my mother about her weird behavior. I told my dad beforehand that she'd been pressuring me to give Dev full custody of the kids, so he was ready for the conversation. When we sat her down, I asked her directly, "Why are you trying to convince me to give up my children?" She froze. My dad kept pushing her to answer until finally she broke down and told us everything. Apparently, after I told my parents about Dev and Kylie, my mom didn't believe me, so she went behind my back to talk to Kylie herself. Kylie told her everything. She begged my mom for forgiveness and admitted she was pregnant. My mom said she couldn't believe it, but instead of being furious like any sane person, she felt sorry for her. She actually promised to help Kylie financially. Then, she tried to convince Kylie not to break up my marriage, told her Dev could still support her child while staying married to me. When Kylie refused, my mother switched tactics. She started telling Kylie that since she was the reason my marriage was ending, she should also take responsibility by raising Dev's kids with him. Yes. My mother, my own mother, told Kylie that she should raise my children. She told her I had postpartum depression and that I wasn't a fit mother, that my kids needed a stable parent like Dev. And then she added the final, disgusting touch. She told Kylie that if I gave Dev full custody, I'd have to pay a large amount of child support, money that Kylie could then use to take care of her baby. That was her plan all along. When my mom finally confessed, I just sat there in shock. My dad looked like he was about to explode. I couldn't even cry at first. I was too stunned. How could my own mother betray me like that, after everything I'd already been through? My dad finally stood up and said, "Get out." My mom started sobbing, begging him to listen, but he told her their marriage was over. He said he couldn't look at her the same way again. I barely remember what happened after that. My mom packed a few things and left to stay with her sister. I just sat there numb. I don't even know who to trust anymore. My husband, my best friend, my mother. Every single person who was supposed to love me unconditionally has betrayed me in the worst possible way. I feel completely alone. Update 3. It's been a few weeks since everything blew up, and I finally feel like I can breathe again. Not because life is perfect, far from it, but because I've reclaimed my power, my children, and my sanity. Divorce. Dev tried to fight me in court, of course. He hired the most expensive lawyer he could find, thinking he could bully me into giving him more than he deserved. He thought he could manipulate the judge like he did everyone else. He lost. Completely. I kept calm, collected evidence of his financial irresponsibility, his neglect of the kids, and his affair with Kylie. The judge didn't even blink before granting me full custody and reducing Dev's access to supervised visits. Child support? Let's just say Dev's bank account is no longer a happy place. He's now a cautionary tale about what happens when you treat people like disposable objects. Kylie, on the other hand, karma is a dish that serves itself cold. She's struggling to raise her baby, her parents have cut her off, and she's found out the hard way that Dev is incapable of commitment. He disappeared for weeks at a time, leaving her to manage everything on her own. I won't gloat. I truly feel sorry for her, but it's also undeniable that she made her choices. My mother. Well, that was the hardest part. After the confrontation, she stayed with her sister for a while, and then she sought therapy. She admitted that she had always put appearances above her children's well-being, and that her favoritism and meddling came from insecurity and shame. I'm still angry, and I don't think I'll ever fully forgive her. But at least she's trying to face her mistakes. I've set firm boundaries. She can't interfere with my life or the kids ever again. I've spent the past few weeks just being with my kids. James and Na are thriving, and my baby is healthy and happy. I've leaned on my dad, my close friends, and a therapist to process everything. I've learned that love doesn't always come from who you expect. Sometimes it comes from the people who stand quietly by your side when the world is falling apart. And most importantly, I've learned that betrayal, no matter how painful, doesn't define you. You define yourself by how you rise after it. I'm starting to rebuild my life. Slowly, carefully, but deliberately. And for the first time in years, I feel free.